right now. But we recommend those for scheduling out. Scheduling is important because it helps you space out posts throughout the day. And when you're considering scheduling posts, consider what you can consistently do in terms of frequency, because that consistency is more important than just the sheer number of posts. If you can really only realistically post on Instagram once a week, stick to that. That regular schedule helps prime your audience to expect a post from you around that time every week.
Okay, and so here we just want to show you some examples of scheduling. So the top picture is on Twitter. When you create a new post, this is what it would look like. And you can see that there's a small calendar button on the bottom left, which says schedule if you hover over it. And from there, you can pick the day and the time that you'd like the post to be scheduled. It's really pretty easy. And then to the right is Facebook Creator Studio. So when you go into Facebook Creator Studio, and you click on create a post, this box will pop up. You can schedule the post by pressing share now at the bottom, as you can see here. And then you also can press schedule then, which will allow you to pick when and how to publish your content. So for example, either to publish it right to your newsfeed or to a group that you might belong to. And then the bottom left picture shows how you can easily schedule your posts on Hootsuite, which we just mentioned. This is pretty similar to Twitter, where it just pops up with the calendar setup, and you just can select the specific date and time that you want to post your post.
So we've mentioned Hootsuite in particular, and there are a number of other tools that you can use that will tell you as you're scheduling what the optimal posting times. But we just wanted to briefly mention that Sprout Social and Hootsuite, which I'll put these links in the chat, so you have them. They both have really good blogs that in general are good resources for keeping up on best practices and changes. And so these images come from Sprout Social, indicating the best times to post online, and you can see that in general, from the time between 8 a.m. and 3 p.m. are times for high engagement on platforms.
So now we're going to talk quickly about coordinating your posts across all of the platforms that you might have. And so you might ask, why would you coordinate your social posts across all of these different platforms? Like, why would that be important? And really, it's to save time and to share a consistent message over all of your platforms. So using a tool like Hootsuite, you can actually schedule the posts to be published on multiple of your platforms at the same time, just by selecting them. However, you might want to slightly alter your posts when you're coordinating them at the same time. So for example, you might want to add in a hashtag for Twitter, and you might want to remove links if you're going to be posting a photo on Instagram, because as we mentioned, the link wouldn't populate in your Instagram post.
So, scheduling and picking platforms that you use, these are all about reaching your audience where they are and helping them get what they want, and helping you engage with the people that you want to reach. So we'll just spend a couple of minutes talking about how you might best reach and engage your audience. One key way is using hashtags. With the little pound sign. It is a great way to reach more people. You can use multiple hashtags in posts to help describe what your post relates to, like hashtag EVs for NJ, for example, is a hashtag on Twitter. It helps pull all posts that are related to each other together, and helps users discover new content. Another great way to reach and engage your audience is simply by knowing what they want, being clear about who you want to reach and why you want to reach them. That in particular helps you make better informed decisions about what platforms would be best to reach them on. For example, if you want to reach women in your town between the ages of 45 and 55, you might not use Instagram because that's not where they are. You might use Facebook to do that. And it also helps you understand what kind of content they might be most likely to engage with. And we'll talk briefly at the very end of our part of this presentation about using insights to help sort of figure out those questions and inform those decisions.
Yep, and so here we're just showing kind of what would come up to a user when you search, for example, hashtag nature on Twitter, and then on the right is Instagram. So you can see that there are options to sort the posts that appear based on top posts, which is what it's sorting on now, or latest/recent posts, and there's even more ways to kind of search on Twitter. And so this really just shows how users can easily find your posts if you in fact choose to add hashtags to your posts, which can be really helpful.
And then finally, we just want to say one last thing about using insights. All of the platforms have some insights like in platform to help you analyze who you're reaching and how well your posts are doing, and help you make better decisions to reach your goals on social media. And so Facebook and Twitter both have pretty robust analytics for both of those. And in Facebook, you can also see Instagram analytics. If you have a business account for Instagram, which is pretty easy to get, and I would recommend that. There's some basic analytics that you can see right in the platform as well. So those will help you see which posts get the most engagement, and what kinds of people are visiting your page and reaching you on social media. So with that, we will pass it back to Deanie.
Thank you so much, Hillary and Samantha. That was fantastic. Certainly got a lot of tips and tools there, and our Q&A has been very active. I'm just going to take a couple of questions in here in the chat box, in the Q&A box, excuse me. And if you want to jump in and answer these questions. Bansuri, I see you've been very active in helping out with the answers. I appreciate that. So one question is, my town doesn't have an official social media presence, and we have 2 non-official Facebook groups for the town that we can post Environmental Commission information on. What suggestions do you have to approaching a town to ask for their support for an official social media account? Our next presenter, Nancy, will talk a little bit more about this, but I'm wondering, Hillary and Sam, from your perspective, how do you talk to municipalities and encourage them to really open up and use more social media?
Honestly, I think Nancy and Bansuri would be the best people to speak to that. I think Bansuri's answer here is really spot on. Okay. And they obviously have more experience.
Okay.
Yeah, I would say, really, in this day and age, social media, having a page is so important. It's the main way my town gets any information across. Of course, events, but like any random events, like we had an Easter Bunny event, they posted on Facebook. Every time, we have dual stream recycling. So on Wednesdays, if it's paper, they post, okay, today's paper. Next Wednesday, they'll post, okay, it's plastic day. So really, it's just an essential way to get any information in town. So you may want to find out why your town is hesitant, because it's almost the default now. And if there's particular issues, maybe they don't have somebody who's in charge and they feel like overwhelmed, they don't know where to start. Maybe nobody knows how to do it logistically. So it's just so commonplace now that there might be some. I would be surprised if you have hesitation from their part, and you might want to inquire particularly what their concerns are.
Okay, thank you, Bansuri. So here's a question for Hillary and Sam about hashtags. How do you know what hashtags to use? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Well, I think in some ways this is a good segue from what Bansuri just said, because there are so many people and organizations and municipalities that are using social media. My first recommendation is to find someone who's doing it well, and see what hashtags they use, because because you'll want to be taking part in the same conversations that, likely that they are participating in, and seeing what, like an organization like Anjac uses. There's a number of like other websites that you could use. One of them is Hashtagify Me, that, and I'll put that link in the chat or the Q&A, as another resource that lets you do some research to see what hashtags are trending.
All right. Oops. Unfortunately, my phone is going off, my home phone, so I apologize for that. That is the problems working from home. So why don't we go ahead, and I have one quick poll. Thank you for those responses. I appreciate it. I do have one poll before we do our next panelist, and that is this. I'm going to launch the poll right now, and the question is, does your municipality have a social media policy? And it looks like the popcorn kernels have stopped popping, and I am going to wrap it up. I'm going to stop the poll and share the poll, but most people don't know at 49%, and 27% said yes, they do have a social media policy, and 24% said no. That is very interesting. I love to, I'm going to, hopefully folks can see those, see the results of that. So that's good to know and very interesting. I'm going to stop sharing that poll at this time and introduce Nancy, because she will definitely be talking about this. So Nancy was born in New York and grew up on the island of Jamaica. She was invited to participate in the Red Bank Environmental Commission shortly after she moved to town. She was installing solar on her home's roof, which seemed like a good indicator that she would be interested in joining the group. Nancy was a senior system analyst for Verizon AT&T, where she worked as a household program manager and network administrator. She has a BA in economics from Hunter College. Nancy lives with her 2 children, her gardening expert husband, Phil, who is also an enterprise architect for AT&T, and their dog, Scout. Her home is nearly fossil-free, woohoo, with a heat pump, HVAC, solar panels, and electric car. Nancy's mantra: my focus is sustainability, and I try to live with preservation of our resources in mind, because the earth will survive the future, but we cannot say the same for humanity if we do not make major changes. I can live behind that, Nancy. I hope to inspire others and enact projects to get Red Bank moving in the right direction. That's wonderful. So Nancy Blackwood, you are up. So please share your screen.
Sure. Thank you for having me. And one thing while I am getting my screen ready to launch the slideshow is regarding hashtags. What we do in Red Bank on our page is we do hashtag Red Bank and then whatever we want to say. For example, during the pandemic, people had gardens and we all were socially distanced. So, as we walk around town and we saw somebody's, garden in their backyard, we would take a picture, we'd post it, hashtag Red Bank Grows. So that's another way to use a hashtag that will engage your community. So if people do search for, what's happening in your town with hashtag Red Bank, that's a way they'll be able to see environmental commission related items. Okay, so that being said, we're going to move on to social media. What I'm going to start with is the Red Bank's social media history. So the borough presently has a website, Facebook, and Twitter. And there were borough pages that were created. For example, one of the earliest ones happens to be the Environmental Commission that was created back in 2015, Parks and Rec in 2012. The borough joined in 2015. And they worked independently. Then as a result of a management enhancement report of borough operations, the suggestion was to develop a cohesive social media presence for the borough. And that's when the borough took over responsibility or overall responsibility for the borough's Facebook pages. So that went into effect in September 2019. And with that came a social media policy, which I'm going to go into next. So on every borough managed page, there is this disclaimer, for want of a better word. It says this page is maintained by the Borough of Red Bank, follows social media policy dated November 2018. And it just explains that the page is not monitored on a 24-hour basis. Don't call 911 if you have an emergency because the page is not monitored. And there's a link to the actual complete social media policy.
Sorry, excuse me. Sorry, Nancy, we can't see your slides.
Oh, sorry. I'm here yapping away. One sec.
I knew you were giving an intro, but when you
I
said
did.
you go to share, I haven't seen them.
Okay. There it is. There. How about now?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Perfect. Okay. I'll start all over. I won't start from the beginning, but
I think you're fine if you
I'm
just
right here.
start
Yep.
here. Mhm.
Okay, so basically this is the social media page that appears, this post that is on the top of every borough managed Facebook page. Facebook is the primary media that the borough is using right now. And as Hillary and Sam alluded to, there are some constraints with that because we do have a whole population that is on Instagram that we're not reaching at this point. So my next slide explains what the social media policy is. The sites are informational only. They have to comply with government records, retention policies, and OPRA. You have to use appropriate use, messaging, and branding that is consistent with the interests, goals, and objectives of the borough. Private messaging is disabled, which means that you cannot receive, people cannot just send private messages to that Facebook page. However, they can comment on a post. So, that's quite acceptable. And here is the link to the borough social media policy, which does not seem to be working in this mode. So I apologize. Let me see. I don't know why it won't work this way, but anyway, I can send you the link to that. And it's about 8 pages and explains, it's the same social media policy that is used for borough personnel, but there's also a section there for boards and commissions, which states what can be done. And what this also means is that every person who wants to post messages on that page have to have a social media policy signed. And the way the page is set up on Facebook, you have a concept of page roles. So the Borough of Red Bank is the admin of the page, and the page editors are assigned by the borough administrator. Usually they're going to be the chair, the vice chair, a council liaison, or someone who has interest to post in that group. So that's basically how it does, how it works. For the content that we post things that are environmentally related, and we post a lot of articles. We focus on Red Bank related issues. We share from Anjec, Sustainable Jersey, Easy Echo Tip. We tend to promote local sustainable businesses in town, particularly when they open up. So that's basically how we use it. And we found that that does get a lot of feedback. And what we can do here, and what residents also have the option to do, they can also share that Facebook page from the Environmental Commission to other groups. In our town, we have local groups that discuss local events and happenings. So it's not unusual to see the Environmental Commission page shared over there. The Department of Public Utilities doesn't have a page. So the Environmental Commission basically shares information related to DPW to the Environmental Commission page. And then from there, someone can share it over to the groups to get the word out and get the message. For example, we had a recent change in our recycling and bulk pickups. And that was very helpful to residents to now realize that we do have weekly pickups and bulk pickup has changed once a month. So that's basically it. I wish I could pop the link to the borough media policy. I don't know why it's not letting me, but I will post it in the chat. So that's basically all that I have.
Nancy, I believe we also have a copy of it. So if you're all right with that, we can also share that with the attendees.
Yes, absolutely. I appreciate that.
Thanks, Nancy. That was really great. I'm just trying to peruse the questions at this time to get a sense of what folks are interested in. Alex, you've been looking at the questions as well. Can you jump in and see if there's a question in here that Nancy can answer here in reference to her section?
Sure. And what we can do, I think maybe after Bansari, we can just have all the municipal questions all in one. There's one specifically for Nancy. Do you use links to other sites' content, or do you post the entire article / content?
I do a mix of both. I might capture part of the article or picture in order to engage the person reading it along with the link to the website. I always make a point to give credit where credit's due.
Yeah, I was going to say,
yes.
Yeah, it is also not to scare anyone, but it is also usually not legal to entirely copy the entire article and then repost it. So what Nancy is doing is exactly right. You can pull out a good quote that we call a pull quote, and then link to the entire article. So that is good. I believe those are all specifically for Nancy. So I'll pass it back to Deanie to introduce our next speaker, and then we can get to all the social media municipality questions after that.
Perfect. Thanks. Thanks so much. Okay, next up is Bansari. So Bansari Shaw is the chair of Montville Township Environmental Commission. She's also the founder of Sustainable Montville, a local volunteer organization and the content creator for Sustainable Montville's Facebook page and Instagram page. Additionally, as webmaster for the Sustainable Montville website, she posts free monthly social media toolkits for use for environmental commissioners all around the state. So thank you for that. And before we get to you, Bansari, I am going to launch another poll and see what people think. All right. So this poll here is asking the question, what's your favorite visual design tool? And don't worry if you don't know what all of these are. Okay. I believe that most people have voted at this time, so I'm going to end the poll. And in the chat box, I see that people are saying Adobe Spark and Illustrator, which are not on the list. I apologize, but a lot of people like PowerPoint, which I actually enjoy PowerPoint myself, but most people don't have a favorite. So that's good to know. All right. I'm going to stop sharing the poll and you are up, Bansari. I'm going to let you share your screen and get started with your presentation.
Okay. All right. Okay, so so mine is more about the logistics of using social media, and just a little brief outline. We're going to talk about Facebook pages, Weebly, Bitly, and Canva, and how you can use these. And these are pretty easy tools to use. Let me just go on Firefox. Okay. So first, one of the things that people had talked about is, someone had asked, and I do want to bring up, is that you have to find out what is your goal for this page. Is it really just to share town information, the things that are doing, the events that are happening in town, recycling information, particularly town relevant, or do you also want to talk about just environmental issues, eco-friendly tips, this just general topics? If you want town issues, it's a little easier to work with the town because it's going to be very town specific. If you want to do eco-friendly tips and other like kind of generic topics, it's harder to work with the town because they're more, they have more limitations. They have to follow up more rules. So they might not be very comfortable with you posting about just like random eco-friendly tips that they haven't vetted yet. So if your goal is just town information, it's easier to make it a more official township, like environmental commission page. If you also want to do more like eco-friendly tips, broader stuff, you may want to not make it an official EC page, but make it like a green team, like an unofficial sort of volunteer page, which is what I have done. And my township actually said no to the EC page. So I did my own. It's basically me running it. They know me, I'm on the EC too, but then they know what I do. And we have a very good relationship, but that avoids a liability issue for them because I post whatever I want. It's Bun Street. It's just me. I'm not posting it as a representative of the EC, even though I'm on it. I make no mention that this is the Environmental Commission. I just say it's a volunteer organization. And we do have other members too, but I do all the tech stuff. So that's one way to avoid it, avoid the liability issue. But you'd need somebody who's eco-friendly or who cares about these things to know the tech stuff. So I'm going to go over a little bit of the tech stuff, and that way that if you want to learn it, it's fairly easy. So this is my page right here. So this is Sustainable Montville, and as you can see, I write it as it's a community organization. It's not a government organization, which I write right in the beginning. And here we do post event information, and then I do post random posts about like swaps, just other things that this is like my own tips, like how I make oat milk. So some of these things that the township may not really, they want to make sure they see every single post, and that's that kind of just makes it more complicated. But this is easier to do when it's not through the township. So that's one way to avoid the liability issue. And it's fair to tell your township about this, but ultimately, since it's not a township page, they don't have to worry about liability. They don't really, you post what you want to post, and still obviously try to keep it, PC. So this is this Facebook page. Compared to, our town does have a Facebook page, and if you see the township page, it's more just township information, but they do post. I'm just going to scroll up. They do post eco-friendly tips, and I actually create these on Canva, and I have made these available. These like this little post about the plastic. So I send this to the township, say, hey, can you post this? And they post it on the township commission, the township page. So that's one way to do it. That they themselves will post, like here, this I made. They posted it. So another way to do it is ask them, can you post this? And it's free content for them. The person who's in charge of the township's page probably just wants good free content, so they're happy to do it. And if you guys want free content to post, because you may not know like how to build it, this is a website I've created where I just put the graphics on there for you to download. So if you look at this website, it's the quick link is right there, bit.ly/SM Media Hub. So that'll take you straight here. So you can save that. And here, I kind of post how to use them, but you can just download them directly and say, hey, can you post this? Hey, can you post this? And I try to keep it generic without naming any any businesses directly, because then they might get little, they might not like that. So try to keep it more neutral. So you can really just use these, download them. If you click on the link below each one, which says like post one Canva link, you would get the link where you can add your township logo. You don't have to write credit me. It's just for free use. And you can even add your own like Milburn Environmental Commission. You can write whatever you want on it, Milburn, any township name, that's fine. You can write on it. It's free for anyone to use. So I posted a bunch of them. I post them every month. And if you want to get notification when I post them so you can use them, just scroll down and join the Media Hub newsletter. And every time I post the 4 for the next month, you'll get information, an email, and you can tell your town, hey, post 1 every week. Okay, so there's 2 ways to do it: create your own page or use a township page. Somebody asked about website development, so I want to quickly go over that. Weebly, which is, if you look up here, weebly.com, weebly.com, is a great website to use. It's very simple. They have templates. You don't really need to know, like, I don't use code for this. I mean, you don't have to use code. You just have to, it's drag and drop. So what I did is I created the Sustainable Montville website using a template. And it's very simple, and it looks really beautiful, and it's free, which is all great. So if you see here, there's different pages you can add. Like, let's just create a page. We're going to create a standard page, test page. This is just the template. So it'll create a test page template. You can literally just edit it here. And if, let's say I want to add a little bit, I want to add a picture, I can add a picture here and upload a picture of, my environmental commission or whatever. So Weebly is a really great, very simple tool to use to have an internet presence. And I do find that it's much easier to do things when there's an internet presence, not just on Facebook, in terms of the different events that we do in town for the Environmental Commission and Sustainable Montville, for different news related items. I actually created our township's recycling page. Is a little bit, it's missing a few information and a piece of information. So I created this page. It's actually fairly simple. It looks really fancy, but it's very simple to do. It's just drag and drop everything. So you can create your own page to put whatever information you think is relevant, including tips. So that's Weebly. It's a really great free tool to use. Another tool that I find useful is Bitly. So that's, this is just, you go to bit.ly and it'll take you straight to Bitly. And the benefit of this is when you create a Facebook event, when you create anything on the internet and you want to tell people about it, instead of creating, you have to go to w. This is this, this long URL, you just go to, you create this long, whatever your URL is, sustainable, Montville, let's say. Okay, so this, you write the main URL, and and then you'll create a Bitly, and it'll create a let's say my new link. You can, this over here, the Bitly link will be the shorter version, so it's very easy for people to remember that. And you can, when you create graphics or create anything, you could be like, okay, go to bit.ly/my new link. It's so much easier than this complicated link. So I use Bitly all the time to advertise about my pages, events, even Facebook pages, events. So that's a really, really helpful free tool too. And the last tool that I think is essential to what I do online is Canva. Canva is, some of you do know about it, but it's extremely easy to use, and it's free also. So if you go to canva.com, you can create they create all these beautiful designs. And the great thing is it's also drag and drop. So if you go to template, let's say I want to start posting on Facebook, I don't know what to post. So I'm going to go to Facebook post. I can choose from all these free designs. Let's say we want to post about, I don't know, organic vegetables. So we go to this one. We could just go to use template. It's already made. All I have to do is change the text. It doesn't, I mean, I can move it. I can change, be a little bit more techie if I wanted to, but I don't have to. I can just say, just change it, eat more fruits, whatever I want, So it's just, and then you just click this little arrow on the top, and then you can download it for free. And you just go to download, and that's it. And I download it, and then I post it wherever I want. So Canva is a really great way to share information about any of the recycling updates, township events, even just information hey, did you know plastic takes hundreds of years to disintegrate? Just post it, put it in the text, download it, and post it on Facebook. So this is a really eye-catching way of sharing information, and I do it. That's how I've made all of the posts that you saw on the social media hub. That's how I make a lot of my posts for events, and just informational things like that. So these are some of the tools I use, and they're fairly easy. I wanted to just let you know that if you go to this website, this is a quick link, bit.ly.smmediahub. There is a link which is social media tips, and everything I talked about is here. So I actually have specific instructions on how to create a Facebook page with like very clear instructions. You can even use this Facebook profile photo, like you can download this and use it to create a Facebook page. You can download this image and use it because you'll need a cover photo, you'll need a profile photo. You can use these, and then I've created a PDF you can download on exactly what I kind of talked about right now on how to use Canva as well. And down here is just a little info on how to share. Like if Anjac posts something really cool and you want to share it on your town's EC page or your environmental page, you can go to this little arrow which says share, and you go to share to page and just share it directly to your page. So that's kind of an easy way to post because it just takes like 1 minute, and you don't have to create new content. You're just sharing other people's already interesting, pre-made content. It's a great, I do this all the time. So you can share that way too. And it'll get on your page and all your followers will see it. And in terms of growing, people did ask about 2 questions, liability and growing. So with liability, if you choose to do a township page, like a township environmental commission page, just make it a policy. You can even post it something that we do not respond to comments, or, I'm sorry, but we are unable to respond to comments. If you have questions, please email, our township administrator or something, or, this person. So that way, there's no obligation that you have to respond to comments at all. So that's fine. Or you create an unaffiliated Facebook page. And somebody else had a question. Shoot, I can't remember. No, I don't remember what the other one was, but there was liability and I think, how to grow followers. So on Instagram, the best way is to ask the township, if they have an Instagram page, to post about the Facebook page that you have. But on Facebook, it's actually easier because you probably have a lot of Facebook, local Facebook groups. Like we have a Montville Moms and we have a Montville Township community. And you might have Glen Rock Township community. There's a lot of Facebook pages probably in your town itself, for your town specifically. So sharing the post of your new Facebook page directly to that group, see how I just see this on my screen, it says share to page. Well, instead of share to page, you go to share to group and you share it in those groups. That's how they'll see that, oh, wait, hey, there's a, sustainable East Orange Facebook page. I didn't know that. So I'll go follow that. Or you can even just post it directly, just write, hey guys, did you know there's a new page? It's called Sustainable, whatever. And please join to learn about all the eco stuff we're doing in town. So posting on Facebook pages, or that's probably the way I've grown my page the most. And then just inviting your friends. You can invite your friends on a Facebook page to like it. If we go back here, there's hold on. I have to log in as Sustainable Montville. And then you'll see kind of what it's taking a second. And here you would go to community, and you can just invite people to like it. I'm actually trying to, I'm having trouble finding that. Okay, but anyway, so just going through the Facebook page and posting it other places and asking other people to share the post is the best way to do it. That's how I've grown it most. Okay.
That was great. Thanks, Bunsery. A lot of information in a short time. Many folks are asking for that bit.ly link. So when you get a chance, we can throw that into the Q&A. We appreciate that.
I'll do that right now.
And Alex has been monitoring both the Q&A and the chat, and she's going to jump in with some questions for folks.
Yeah, so feel free, panelists, if you'd like to turn on your video, we can all kind of have a conversation. Because I have some questions for lots of people. So just also as an FYI, we will be sending the Q&A transcripts to everyone as well. So you will be getting all of the resources that we answered. So I won't read out every single question that was in the Q&A, but I am seeing some interesting trends. So first, I'd like to hear from Sam and Hillary. There's some questions about sharing between platforms, which I think is a really good topic. And we were talking about Facebook and Instagram and how easily they go together. So can you talk a little bit about what sharing between platforms and what are the pluses and minuses of that?
Is the question about like sharing like the same thing across two different platforms? So Sam talked a little bit about this in in her part of the presentation. There are some pluses and minuses. The pluses of, like, let's say you're hosting an event and you want to make sure that you post about that event on all of your platforms, because you're probably going to reach different people in different places in different ways. You will want to sort of tailor your post just a little bit for each of the platforms, because you wouldn't use all the hashtags that you would use on Twitter, also on Facebook. And similarly, like in your Twitter post, you might want to tag, other local groups or partners or whatever who might be willing to share that there. And so you wouldn't want to include those tags in the Facebook post. But there are some reasons, if you're just sharing an article that you think would be of interest, or tips, like eco tips or whatever, that probably is easily shareable and shared at the same time on both accounts.
I was muted. Great, thank you. And the next one has a lot of people asked about this, so I'll let Nancy and Bansari answer this first, and then we'll get to Hillary and Sam. How do you get a town on board if they are against having any social media?
Nancy?
Sure, I'll give it a start. I think to get the town on board is that your BA or whoever is responsible for the borough's social media presence, you should develop a relationship with them, provide a social media policy. And I put a sample of what Red Bank has in the chat, and just discuss, maybe just letting one or two people from your environmental commission be able to use the page. Explain, as Sam and Hillary did, about the outreach and the insights, and just keep working on them. Show them how it works. Share other towns' environmental commission pages as well to say, hey, see, it works over here, it works here, please join us.
Yeah, I would say that too. Definitely showing that it can be done without worrying about liability. And I think, like I mentioned, I think most people are concerned about comments. Just tell your township that, let's make it a policy that we do not respond to comments. And we can write that, say that if there are any concerns or questions, please email so-and-so, or please call into your environmental commission meeting or township committee meeting, express your concerns. Because my township, I know that they don't respond to comments. I mean, they don't have time. And frankly, I think it's a very appropriate decision to not get into like a whole commenting thing, so that's a very reasonable way to just avoid liability entirely.
Right. And another option is just turn off the option to have comments on any of the posts as well.
Hillary and Sam, anything to add? I know, Hillary, you had mentioned about some hiding comments. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, the hiding comments is a kind of a cool tool, because when you hide a comment, the person who's commented still sees their comment up on Facebook. They don't know that you've done it, but no one else can see it. So you're not like wrangling anybody. It does require that you monitor comments. I think if you are accepting comments, I think it is important to go back through, even just over the last once a week or whatever, just to see what kinds of comments you're getting. And you might find that there are people who like kind of bots or trolls that you need to just block entirely, who are just making it a toxic space.
Great, thank you. And it looks like, so as I said, the Q&A has been very active, and thank you to everyone who jumped in and answered some questions. We can send out that transcript to everyone. I just wanted to leave a few more seconds to see if anyone else had questions. Deanie, do you have anything else that you'd like to add?
I did see something in the chat. Hang on 1 second, if I can find it. Okay. Wow, this was a while back. It's been really busy. Here we go. Oh, actually, you know what? I think, Hillary, you answered this question about creating Facebook events. No, I think we're good. I don't see anything else specific. So if folks have more questions after this event, in general, people are really enjoying this. And if people have questions, you can certainly reach out to info@anjac.org. And we can get you in touch with our experts and take it from there. Liz, did you want to add anything else on?
Just want to thank everybody, including our presenters who are awesome, especially my niece, Samantha. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you for having us.
And thank you all to everyone joining us. I
Thank you
really
for
appreciate
joining
you
us.
spending your lunch and learn with us.
Thank you all.
Enjoy the
Thanks,
rest of
everyone.
the day.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.